Welcome back, everyone, to the Mafia Scum Super League. Here we have another match coming up between Cow and Pseudonym, and I will be casting this match with Ya today.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Ya?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Just finished off my match, so
Yeah, you did pretty well.
let's see what we can do here.
So which deck do you want to look at first here?
All right, so we have Ciro against Cow here. Ciro is playing a Grishoalbrand deck. We have this weird thing this second trimester where we got to change decks, and suddenly everyone discovered that Goryo's Vengeance existed.
Right, we mentioned in the last match, there are 3 different Goryo's Vengeance decks taking place in this. So let's talk through this one.
Yeah, so this is the Shoal version.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw kind of a traditional one where what they're trying to do is just dump some cards in the graveyard with Phaseless Looting and use Goryo's Vengeance to bring back Grishoalbrand.
Right.
But how is this one different?
So this one is running, as you mentioned, the Shoal version. It's running the Nourishing Shoal package. And so it's looking to... It doesn't have the Emrakuls. It doesn't have the Nicol Bolas. So it's still looking to win through Goryo's Vengeance, but with a different spin on that.
Right, and this is a little bit more all-in.
Right.
So the idea is Nourishing Shoal, exiling Rolled Spineworm gains you a pile of life. So while the other deck just kind of stopped, there was a limit to how much could be drawn. Here, there's a lot more that you can do because, okay, you just use Nourishing Shoal, now I get to draw 7 more cards.
Right, and so it really looks to draw its entire deck and win the game, rather than mostly setting up a 2-turn lethal.
Yeah, but this one also has another little trick with Through the Breach. If you Through the Breach a Rolled Spineworm, then once the Rolled Spineworm dies at the end of the turn, you still get the tokens.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you can just punk people out of the game that way.
And then let's hop over to the other deck.
And the other deck, Cow is running Blue Moon.
Right. So obviously running the 4 main deck Blood Moons, really looking to prey upon mana bases that are often greedy in this format. And then...
And we have...
Sorry.
And we have some new cards in here too, with the Torrential Gearhulks and the Champions.
So how do you see this match? Like, what do you think the Blue Moon deck is looking to do specifically against this Goryo's Vengeance deck?
Well, here's the problem. If you look at the sideboard of Pseudo's deck, there's a couple Blood Moons in there, which means that Blood Moon is probably not going to be doing a lot. Like, he's playing a lot of basics.
Right.
He's playing 8 of them. So a lot of what Blue Moon is betting on is that the opponent will just not have an answer for Blood Moon. That doesn't seem to be the case here.
Right.
On the other hand, there is a pile of interaction and counter magic. Vendilion Click is useful. So it's possible that some of these things can come together. It's going to be interesting to see if they do.
Absolutely. Okay. Any final thoughts on the match before we take it down to the board and take a look at the hands the players have?
I think this one is going to be a tough ask for Control.
Yeah, I think you're right. That, you know, especially with so much of the deck being around those 4 main deck Blood Moons, I think that's tough in a deck against a deck that is running its own Blood Moon, so is not too worried about that threat.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened this trimester is I think a lot of the players looked at last trimester's decks, saw there wasn't a lot of graveyard hate running around, and decided to take advantage. And Cow here is still on the expectation that he didn't have to deal with a lot of hate.
Correct.
Or he didn't have to deal with a lot of graveyard decks. There is just nothing there.
Yeah, did not...
To specifically hate graveyards.
Right. Okay, so let's take it down to the board here and take a look at the opening hands. Pseudo is on the play, I believe. So
yes,
let's look at
Pseudo has run the die roll.
Hand first. What jumps out to you in Pseudo's hand here?
Well, this doesn't seem to be doing a lot.
Right, obviously.
There's a World Spine Worm, which is good. That's one piece. He's got a couple cards that might be able to find some stuff, but he doesn't have an outlet. So, you know, it's keepable, but it's on the edge of keepable.
Right,
I wouldn't be surprised if he
there's no
gets rid of
explosiveness
this.
necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we hop over to Cow's hand, does have the 4 lands, a Mana Leak, a Snapcaster, and a Blood Moon, which, as you said,
And a basic island.
and the basic island. But having the Blood Moon in hand not as strong in this matchup as it would otherwise be.
Right. So this is, I think this is a clear keep. I mean,
Yeah.
this is, you didn't come here not to play Blood Moon.
Correct. I mean, even if it's not ideal, it still is, you know, that's what your deck's doing. Gets bonus points for me for the Unglued Island.
See, I was trying to make lands be kind of thematic. Because Infect is kind of like this oil and this, so I wanted the forest to feel kind of slimy and greasy and that. But yeah, I mean,
Pseudo and Cow are both keeping your hands.
All right then. So they're going to start it off.
And Pseudo just looking, you know, has the lands, has part of his combo, just looking to draw into the rest of his action and have that explosive draw.
Do you think it's worth him burning off the guide here just to get off something turn 1?
I don't know. Obviously, okay, I guess he does not.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Yeah, I thought that was dicey too. But it's an interesting consideration.
Absolutely. Cow draws another land.
Fire Bluff Canal, and he's got a second one of those.
Not what he's looking to draw, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, he basically has to play the fetch land next because he wants to get a second basic island before dropping the Blood Moon. That's just the way his hand looks at.
And we see the very quick
right, here's a Night's Whisper.
Turn 2 Night's Whisper by Pseudo.
Yeah, he drew a second Night Whisper. And this one is going to get him
a third Night's Whisper and a Through the Breach.
Well, the Through the Breach is really good.
No, yes.
Because now he has a plan forward.
Right.
He just has to get up to 5, reach in the worm.
Whereas
this is not the sequencing I think Cal wanted to do.
correct.
Torrential Gearhulk the draw. I think he wanted to drop the turn, get a basic, then you drop the Spire Bluff Canal, and you drop the Blood Moon, and then you're just set. Now the Spire Bluff Canal is either going to come in tapped. Actually, Blood Moon's kind of nothing on this board anyway. It's all basics.
So
I don't see why you would.
Going over to Pseudonym here, gonna play another Night's Whisper. And now he has choices.
He has found the Grishoalbrand.
Yeah, he has choices with his Through the Breach now. Finds a Faithless
A lot of choices.
Wow, this is... I expect to see a Faithless
Looting
now.
Yep, that should come up now. He's got the Borborygmos Enraged. This is a lot of stuff.
This is exactly what his hand was looking to draw. I mean,
yeah, as long as he is able to draw a second thing, aside from the Through the Breach, and also maybe some mana, he can overload what Cow is doing. I don't think you counter this.
No.
Yeah, you don't counter this. You can't counter this. I mean, it just happens next turn.
finds the Nourishing Shoal and a land.
Oh.
Sort of a land.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be discarding here to hand size, but that's good. That's what he wants to do.
Right.
Yep, Borborygmos goes down. And I think...
Maybe mention that we should be talking through end steps as well. Hopefully the players realize that after last match.
Well, I'm sure Cow is going to make sure that happens. Those are...
And over to Cow's turn. He draws an island, not what he was looking to draw, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he just has to pass it
Yeah,
back.
he's passing it right back. And as you said, there's no reason...
The Blood Moon does nothing.
Right, it does literally... In fact, it hurts him.
Yeah.
Whereas it does literally nothing to Pseudo.
Alright, so we have the Temple. It's going to Scry.
See what he's looking to find.
The top card there is a Simian Spirit Guide that he's looking at and trying to make a decision on.
Players talking about different cards that may be able to counter the triggered ability.
Different cards that are not in their deck.
Correct. And he kept it on top.
Yeah, he's keeping... Yeah, I think you have to, because you need to get up enough mana to get some of these things to work.
Right.
That was sort of the problem with Calvaster's deck. Like, he just ran out of mana. So you keep the Spirit Guide because you need to draw into it. Here's the flashback Pathless Looting.
And especially because...
This one's going to eat it.
Yeah. And this is where...
Because he can snap it back.
Right. Okay, passes the turn over to Cow, who untaps and draws a Scalding Tarn. Again, you know, this turn is going to be the Snapcaster, presumably,
Sure.
but not drawing into any more action yet.
Yeah.
Passes it back.
Okay, he's going to drop... This makes sense. You drop the Desolate Lighthouse, because that way you can loot if nothing happens.
Correct. It lets you keep up Snapcaster Mana Leak, and if not, gives you a way to use your mana.
Now, is he going to do it? Is it time for Through the Breach?
I would think not, just because the land was played first.
Well, he can wait. I mean, he can play a Night's Whisper.
Yeah. I just think if you're gonna do it, there's no reason to play a tap land now before you see what you potentially draw off of the Grishoalbrand.
No, true. It is a waste of a land drop in that way.
Yeah, just passing...
Alright, he's just passing. He's not even going to Night's Whisper.
No. And...
We're going to see...
It does let Cow loot. Yeah. And that's the downside to waiting, is that yes, you're playing around a counterspell, but you're also just giving Cow more time to find a counterspell.
And the Blood Moon goes down because that was doing nothing. And we have Serum Visions was to draw off the loot. Draw
Harvest Pyre.
for a turn is a Harvest Pyre. Now, this is actually a decent card.
Correct.
Because this is a card that potentially could get large enough to deal with one of the large creatures. Explosives. That's not doing much.
You'd have to get a pretty big explosives to be relevant here. And then we'll see what he's...
And the Scry cards are a Cryptic Command and a Chandra.
Okay.
I think you definitely want the command.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's keeping both. He's keeping both because he's thinking the Chandra can be a win condition.
What I assume the Cryptic is the top one.
Yeah. I would think. So now you should drop a land. I would have dropped the basic island because I want to be drawing.
Yeah, not able to crack that without... That's interesting.
Shuffling things away.
And we'll see...
I think that was a slight sequencing error. We have a second World Spine one.
Right. So we'll see if this turn Pseudo goes for it. And he also...
Well, he could do it as a gut check.
Right.
I mean, he can just say, okay, let me, through the breach, try to get in a worm, or whatever. And if it gets countered, then, you know, he knows that 2 cards have been left on top of Cow's library, and there's a fetch land in play.
Correct.
So, unless Cow has specifically a second mana leak, he's going to have to shuffle those 2 things he wants.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that he knows that for Snapcaster, that involves Cow shuffling away the 2 cards.
Yeah, they all do. Even end-of-turn loot involves shuffling away those.
Correct. Which is why I don't think I would expect to see a loot.
No, I mean, that land drop was not good.
Potentially not optimal, depending on how much he values the
Yeah,
cryptic.
you might. If Pseudo does nothing, he might just get away with it. Like, you just pass, pass. Okay, untap, drop the island that you should have dropped, and you're back in business.
Pseudo looks
and
like...
at that point, presumably, you have drawn into the cryptic command.
Pseudo looks like he's going in the tank about whether he wants to run his Through the Breach out there.
It is tempting. It's really tempting.
Especially with having the Shoal already. Gives you so much gas when you get Grishoalbrand in play.
Yeah, but also, even if it fails, you still have some gas in the tank with the Knight's Whisper. It's not like you can't recover quickly. This hand is pretty stacked.
Right.
I mean, you might want just one more thing. Okay, he's going for a Knight's Whisper. This is fine.
Yeah,
this is going to resolve because of the squeeze. Ooh, here's a Faithless Looting again and another Breach. This is great. This is exactly what he wanted to see.
Absolutely. I expect we'll see, the looting.
Well, yeah, the Faithless Looting. This one, again, the squeeze is on.
Right, he just... And now he even has...
Okay, 2 lands, those are pitchable.
Well, unless he wants to pay for Mana Leak. He's at that point with the lands in play and the Spirit Guides in his hand that I believe if he makes one more land drop, he can just pay for a Mana Leak.
Yeah, next turn. Yeah. So drop 1 and drop a World Spine Worm. This makes sense. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, you don't need...
And then he can play the land.
You don't need the second World Spine Worm in your hand. You have the one. By the time you show that one, you're going to be drunk so much, you assume you'll find more.
Right, and if you draw into... Okay, Glorious Vengeance actually does work. This is now a dead card.
Now over to Cow.
No! What is he doing?
My only thought is that maybe he doesn't actually value the Cryptic that much. Like, if he decided, hey, the Cryptic is nice if I can have it, but I don't actually care that much about it.
It's just a counterspell for anything.
Oh,
he's looting, but he had looted it away.
It looks like
he's just shuffled it away.
He just realized what he did, I think.
Yeah. He just realized what he did.
And
he's drawing nothing.
For a Blood Moon.
The Blood Moon, which is going to go.
So just ends up milling himself for 1 at the cost of his Cryptic and Chandra.
That was just some really bad
just awkward sequencing.
Came to bite him. But on the plus side, he is now going to have 6 mana once he drops an island. And he's got a Gearhulk in hand. So, that can just, bring back a Mana Leak for free and counter something.
And we've also seen that Pseudo has aggressively been using his life total as part of his looting, to the point that,
the Knight's Whispers have been very good.
But to the point that his Gearhulk presents a clock.
Explosives on 0? I guess he's thinking there must be a second World Spine Worm to worry about.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, if you're not going to be discarding it, it's strictly better than not having it in play.
Alright, draw is a Cathartic Green.
And at this point, I feel like Pseudo's been so patient that he's just given Cow time to draw into those counterspells. But again, he can pay for the Mana Leak. Because he doesn't have that hard counter, he does not have that Cryptic command in play. Pseudo can fight through a Mana Leak.
Yeah, but also there's 5 cards in hand over there, 6 mana open, and he has no idea what is over there.
Right.
So, that is an interesting position to be in. We know, actually, he should probably just drop it Through the Breach no matter what.
He has a second one.
Just because he has a second. He has a second, so you just force him to have something.
Because again, the longer you wait, the more he'll just draw a handful of counterspells. So you need to go at some point.
Yeah. At some point, it's not going to get better.
And he has the mana with Spirit Guides to force through a Mana Leak. I think you force Cow to show you either 2 Mana Leaks or a hard counter.
Yeah. Now it is a little bit, actually, it's a little tricky in that he's just discarding and passing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky in that if you go for the normal Grishoalbrand kill, so to speak, oh look, we just managed to draw a Cryptic off the top of the deck. That was a very good
Yeah,
one.
passing it right back. And now, this is the problem where Pseudo, unfortunately, has run into a position where Cow's just gonna...
Oh, another land.
Cow's just gonna draw more and more cards and find more and more counterspells.
Yeah, it is a bit of a tricky position in that you don't really want to be exiling the Simian Spirit Guides, because if you do, then you don't have them for after the Grishoalbrand starts drawing a pile of cards.
Looks like...
But I think you just want to go for it to a certain extent.
Okay.
Okay, so we're fetching a response. This is not actually doing anything.
Yeah, I was wondering. Okay.
Through the breach is an instant, but there's no reason to use it that way.
Like, is he using it just
maybe
to draw a bunch of cards with Grishoalbrand?
Well, hold on. Cow's just tapped down. He needs now to have a mana leak in hand. This is a deck that's capable of going off at instant speed. Through the breach now. Drop in Grishoalbrand. Okay, so here's what's happening. Nourishing Shoal is being cast, pitching the Worldspine Worm. He is going to splice the Through the Breach on the Nourishing Shoal. So that's going to drop in Grishoalbrand if this resolves. If it doesn't, the Through the Breach technically stays in hand.
Correct.
It does not actually become part of the spell.
It just costs him
the
Shoal package if it gets countered.
Right. That loot might have just been the game. Because what's going to happen is Grishoalbrand is going to drop into play. It's going to draw a pile of cards.
Correct.
There's a second Through the Breach. And Pseudo has 4 mana already available. He just needs 1 more and a Borborygmos Enraged. And then he's going to be able to drop that at instant speed and chuck a pile of lands at Cow's head.
Needs 6 lands, if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah.
Borborygmos is 3 per land, right?
I believe so. We'll see it when it gets drawn.
Right. He gets to Grishoalbrand 3 times total. More if he finds another Shoal package. Finds nothing with the...
Okay, he's got the mana.
Yeah, got the mana.
He's got the mana. He's got another Spirit Guy. He's got a Desperate Ritual.
Now
he's at 17 life, so he has already 2 more draw 7s lined up.
Needs to find either a Shoal package or a Borborygmos. Preferably both.
Yeah.
Doing it again.
And a pile of lands. He's got 2 lands. He needs 1 more.
Finds the Shoal.
He's got a Shoal. He's got plenty of mana. He's got a second Grishoalbrand. There's another Goryo's Vengeance. I'm not sure there's an instant speed way to get that into the graveyard. To get something into the graveyard.
There's also only 22 cards left in his deck, so he's very he has reasonable chances of finding that worm that he needs to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just rearranging to get all the lands. See them? He's got 3 right now.
So if he finds Borborygmos and 3 lands, he wins. If he finds a worm, he probably basically wins.
Yeah. So Worm is going to let him draw 7
No,
more
Worm
cards,
lets him draw 14 more cards, I believe.
How big is a Worm?
It's 9, I think, correct?
It's 11.
Yeah, so... Because he can draw 7, go down to 3. No, that puts him at 14, so just not enough. Okay.
Yeah, just not enough.
But he has to draw 7 more,
Very
right?
close.
Like, at this point, he's...
Yeah, he has to draw 7 more right
He's committed at this point.
Yeah, he's in.
Is he in?
He's... Okay, we've just got priority. He's been looking at stuff, and we're still with the loot on the stack.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like he's drawing 7 more.
He was just looking at what was in his hand. It's a big hand.
Yeah, okay.
He was arranging stuff. And that took a while. So it looked like he wasn't doing anything.
Does Cow have main deck lightning bolts?
He does.
That's the problem with drawing 7 more.
Oh, yeah. He's wondering if there's a lightning bolt over there. There isn't. There's a Harvest Pyre, and Harvest Pyre can only hit creatures.
With only 5 cards in Cow's hand, I feel like you have to go for lethal here.
You have tried, like, you need to, yeah. I mean, you didn't do all this just to discard stuff. And, yeah, you have to do this.
Because even if you whiff, Cow then has 6 cards in hand to kill you, or you still get to try again next turn. I think you have to go for it.
Well, you're going to have to... He has to discard down.
No, of course.
This is Pseudo's end phase.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cards in your hand you want to keep. You want to keep the Spirit Guides. You want to keep at least 1 Through the Breach. You want to keep the Shoal. You want to keep Goryo's Vengeance. So
you don't want to lose the land because you're playing a Chuckler.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to go for it.
Yeah, I think you're stuck. You have decided to go in for this line. It was a really clever bit of timing to
Absolutely.
do this.
And I think...
But you have committed yourself.
I think when you make that decision, I think you have to look at your life points and realize that that last Grishoalbrand does put you at 3.
What is this?
Goryo's into what?
There's nothing down there, is there?
Can you see what's in his graveyard?
Oh, there's a Borborygmos enraged in his yard.
What does that do?
Okay, so he's going to be... So he has the Borborygmos. He didn't need to find that. That's what it means.
Right, but he still needs to...
He doesn't have enough juice, is the problem.
He still needs to decide if he's going to Grishoalbrand it. At this point, he has to be Grishoalbranding again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he just needs to find 3 more lands off the Grishoalbrand. Or...
Like there,
Worldspine Worm to get
There's
going,
no reason to Goryo's it if you're not going to keep going, is there?
He can't hardcast the Nourishing Shoal. Yeah, he's committed himself. Like, he needs to do this.
Is he?
He's just chucking 3 lands right now. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. You get them out of your hand.
I think you go for it.
Yeah.
I think you have to go for it. I think you're giving Cow a lot more outs by letting him get his shields up. If you...
Well, these things are...
He's done.
He's done. He's done.
I don't know.
Wow.
I think I'd be willing... I mean, obviously we can see the hands, but...
I mean, the Borborygmos is on Goryo's Vengeance. So that is going to go away permanently.
In theory, he could still choose to act again after the loot.
In response, yes. Well,
because he still has...
in response to things leaving, he can do that.
He has priority now, correct?
It's just...
It's his turn, so he has priority after the loot, does he not?
Well, the loot drew Steam Vents and then dropped it.
But now there's a Cryptic.
There's a Cryptic.
Which, I don't know. I think if you're going to go for that, you have to be willing to lose to Lightning Bolt, I think.
Yeah. I don't see... This is tricky. Well, there's a discard stuff to do if he's going to the turn.
I just think there's so much... You know... Hold up.
What? Like, you can't keep 14 cards in your hand.
I'm assuming Pseudo realizes that end of turn is before discard.
Yeah, he must.
Yeah, okay. But, like...
Yeah, those lands are still tapped.
So before that, you were dead to... Like, if you go for it on this turn, you're dead to Lightning Bolt. I feel like now you're dead to Lightning Bolt and Cryptic. Like, you're still dead to Lightning Bolt, because...
Well, yeah, but you're giving an extra chance to find the Lightning Bolt.
That's what I mean.
Is the problem.
But there's still no top deck that lets you go off without Grishoalbranding, I don't think. Is there? I mean, I guess you could top deck specifically the worm, but...
Well, Through the Breach lets you attack.
Oh, that's fair, okay.
Cow is at 9.
Yeah, okay, that is fair. But now again, now you've added Cryptic Command and any other counter spells as outs.
Yeah, letting Cow untap is dangerous.
How many main deck bolts are there?
4.
Okay.
4. Yeah, I mean, you would never play less than 4 on a Stout Bolt.
No, I agree, but...
Shell. So, being kept here, we have the 2 Spirit Guides, Desperate Ritual, Nourishing Shoal, 2 Through the Breach, and a Grishoalbrand.
And so now Cow draws for the turn, has 1,000,000 mana. You have to assume...
Plays the Sulphur Falls, you just draw.
Those creatures...
Moves to end step.
Those creatures are gone, right?
Now they're going to go. Because they came during the end step.
Oh, that is true. Okay,
after the chance for the trigger had gone.
Okay, yeah.
So they're going on the stack now.
Do you just Grishoalbrand now?
And he might have to.
But at that point, why aren't you doing it?
And Cow has Cryptic, Snap, Mana Leak up.
Cow has nothing against Grishoalbrand now.
Correct. Well, not true. I mean, in response to Grishoalbrand trying to draw cards, he can bounce the Borborygmos and Rage.
Oh, that's fair, okay. But the Pseudo does not choose to go off further.
And Borborygmos is gone.
Draws a Manamorphose.
Yeah, it's a redraw.
In theory, you can shoal that if you care that much about Bolt.
This has become very bad, is the problem. Because there's now 2 counterspells up on the other side of the table.
Correct. But he has the mana to just fight, to just let the first one... I guess he can't let Cryptic resolve and then pay for Mana Leak on the second Through the Breach, I assume. Can he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Probably
6, 7,
not.
8, 9. I count 10 with the ritual.
Right. Manamorphose. We're getting a redraw, but he has to figure out, okay,
That's
red, black.
11.
Redraw isn't land. That land is not really what he wanted to
That's
see.
11 mana. That's not enough to pay for a Mana Leak on the second Through the Breach.
Yeah.
Unless I miscounted, but...
And there's not...
2.
You can get it for cheaper with the splice, but you can't
But that puts them both on
splice
one.
it onto anything.
Right. Obviously, you can't splice it onto the first one, because then that just sets it all, you know...
Yeah, I guess you try.
You have to run it out.
Yeah. This is going to get Cryptic.
No. You're going to get Mana Leaked.
Why would you do this and still... Oh, he's thinking he might trap some of the stuff in hand?
I'm not sure.
Well, on the table, it looks like this will work.
Mm-hmm.
In order for this not to work, then Pseudo has to pitch mana out of his hand.
Correct.
But pitching mana out of his hand means that it won't be available for later. So that means this Cryptic command that's going to come down now is actually going to be okay, because he can get it back later with the Torrential Gearhulk.
That's fair.
So this is going to go counter draw.
Mm-hmm. You have to...
Draw is another Mana Leak. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think... I don't know. It's really tough when we have knowledge of both hands, but I think Pseudo couldn't afford to play around that Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I think he I think he saw Lightning Bolt steal a game during trimester 1 and was just scared it was going to happen to him.
But I think, you know, letting... I don't know. Kao's deck has so much redundancy with counterspells and more counterspells, and now he has the Lightning Bolt.
Now he has it! Alright, so attack. This is going to drop down to 8. Pseudo is at a virtual 5.
Correct.
And there's a Torrential Gearhulk in hand. He might have just stolen this game. Untap, there's another Faithless Looting. That is not going to cut it.
No. Because now, even finding a way to get a Grishoalbrand in play doesn't do anything unless he can gain life.
Snapback Faithless Looting, you don't touch
Correct.
this if you're Cow. This is not something that matters. Well, Nourishing Shoal, not...
But now you don't even... Because you pitched the Spirit Guide last turn, you don't even have time to Through the Breach and then Goryo's Vengeance, I don't believe. Or you don't have mana to, I don't believe.
Right. Also, Borborygmos is gone, so you'd have to find another Borborygmos and somehow get it into the graveyard.
Yeah.
So 2 Faithless Lootings go to the yard off this loot.
I don't know about this hand.
The Faithless Looting is about to get exiled. There is a land in hand that can be played.
Do you expect to see Cow push for lethal by dropping the Gearhulk?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no reason not to. Because you have a second mana loop.
That's fair, yeah.
So what you do is you flash back the Cryptic, and you force him to have it by bouncing a land or something.
Yeah, okay.
And so the play should be Gearhulk, flash back the Cryptic, and try to bounce a land, probably the Temple, because why not?
Looks like he's gonna bolt.
I would not do that here. I would do that on his turn.
I think he's gonna just flash back the bolt.
It's an instant though. Through the breach.
He's not playing Gearhulk.
Speed. Okay, that I don't.
Oh,
like
now he can just Gearhulk into bolt.
Oh yeah, okay, this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll Gearhulk into bolt, and then the mana loop will stay up.
Yeah, this does it.
I think Gearhulk into Cryptic is a little bit stronger. There's less that can go wrong.
I think so.
Yeah, this has the math.
Yeah, this should be good enough. No reason not to go for it now.
Well, you could hold it and wait, because Pseudo's going to have to try something.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Another Nourishing Shoal. This is a pile of nonsense.
Yeah, because if he goes for a massive Through the Breach in response, you can just kill him with...
You kill him. Yeah, in response, you just kill him. And Pseudo is virtually at 1. He cannot drop and crack that fetch land unless he wants to win this turn.
Well, he's virtually dead, right? He's at 3. Oh, he doesn't know about that.
But if he cracks the fetch land, and he's just dead to the Snapcaster attacking. So if he needs to win if he's going to play that fetch land and use it.
In theory, he can shoal a shoal at this point.
True, that would be worth 2 life.
All
right, so he's going to cast a Desperate Ritual, place onto it a Through the Breach. This should see
Gearhulk
into Cryptic.
Or into Bolt?
Or into Bolt. You might think he has the win right now.
Yep, Pseudo scoops.
We're not even going to see it. Yeah, he knows the Bolt's down there. He can't do anything with that. I'd have waited to see what got put on the stack, but okay.
Okay, so Cow takes game 1.
Somehow he's come out of that. Not sure how, but somehow he managed to come out after Pseudo decided not to go for it.
Alright, so if we look at Cow's deck, how do you expect him to be sideboarding?
Okay, so open deck lists. So he knows already that Pseudo has Blood Moons in the sideboard. So the Blood Moons are gone. Those are not useful at all. Electrolyze, kind of weak. There's nothing it can kill. It's a redraw, but it's pretty weak. So those 3 Electrolyze are probably out too. That's 7 cards already. Engineered Explosives has some fringe utility because you can get the tokens off of World Spine Worm. So they're probably staying. Bolt is not particularly strong, but it is stronger than the other 7 cards.
I was gonna
so
say,
there might be a couple of bolts staying
at
there.
a certain point, we're probably going to
because you might,
yeah,
you might not have much choice here. Other stuff that could come in. The negates are very good, so that's 2 cards. Pia and Kirin at least gives you a bit of a claw. Harvest Pyre is okay. Batterskull kind of gives you a clock. I mean, they're trying to do damage, so it's not the worst thing.
Absolutely.
Shackles, I don't think works because the Grishoalbrand deck is not playing to keep things in play and can basically go off at instant speed. So I don't think you can use the Shackles.
Correct.
Maybe Jace or Keranos if you think that you are going to be okay with card advantage and you just need to fill some slots. But it's going to be tough to figure out enough things to come in here.
And then moving over to Pseudo's deck.
Well, you don't want the Blood Moons because you're playing against a Blood Moon.
Right.
So no point of that. And you're dealing with a control deck as well. So things that you have. One is Emrakul, which could be quite interesting in that you're not dealing with a deck that has any graveyard gate. So you will probably be able to, if you can use spells, either pull off the Goryo's Vengeance trick to get it into play, or just breach it into play. And if that thing attacks, it's all over curtains for a control deck.
Absolutely.
Like, you cannot lose 7. Probably, though, what we're going to see is we're going to see the Bosage. Because you don't want things countered. We're probably going to see Pact of Negation because, again, you want to fight back against counter spells. And we might see Collective Brutality just as a duress effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an argument to be made for the Read the Bones, but as we've seen from the way that Game 1 went, there isn't a lot of interest in countering draw spells for the most part. So there's no real need to have extra card advantage.
Correct. Right.
On the other hand, stuff to take out, this deck is pretty tight. So he's not going to want to take out very much. And I'm not sure what you can do here, aside from just shaving some stuff like Manamorphose that... it's going to be a little bit of a delicate dance.
Always the problem with sideboarding combo decks is, of course, that the more tech you bring in, the more you make your deck less dense on the combo.
Yeah, and the thing that... What was I saying? Yeah, the general rule of thumb for combo, you don't really end more than about 3 or 4 cards.
Correct.
You just don't want to do that. So what's happened over on Pseudo's end of things is we were wrong about the Emrakul, but the Collective Brutalities came in, the Pacts came in, and also the Bosage came in. So the Bosage replaced a Swamp, and the other things that came out were the 1 Desperate Ritual and 4 Cathartic Reunion.
Okay.
He's probably thinking the Cathartic Reunion is just too big a risk.
Right.
Because you don't want to be, if it gets countered, you don't want to be playing, 2 mana, discard 2 cards.
Correct.
That's not a good thing.
And so on Cow's side...
on the other side, what we've seen happen is... Okay, the Blood Moons came out,
Okay.
obviously. That had to happen. The stuff that came in was... Looking up here, Tuna Gate definitely came in. And...
Did Pia and Kieran Nalar come in?
Pia and Kieran did not. There's a Harvest Pyre that came in.
Okay.
Tuna Gate and the Batterskull.
Just the 4. Okay.
Just the 4.
Okay.
I'm a bit surprised to not see the electrolyzers go.
So, let's head down to the table and see what the players have in their hands. If we look...
So, Pseudo...
Yeah, look at Pseudo's hand.
Pseudo's on the play now. This is a pile of crap.
Absolutely.
There's one land. He cannot keep this.
Correct.
There's some good cards in here. He got his sideboard cards, but he can't keep this.
It's especially
Single
on
Blood
the
Crypt.
play. It's way
Nothing
too...
is playable.
So if we head over to Cow's hand...
Nothing is playable. This is great. Spell Snare, Negate, Mana Leak, 3 lands. Sure.
This is exactly what you want.
There's Electrolyze, which is kind of nothing. He's going to end up cycling that as soon as he can. But this is exactly what he's looking for.
So let the players know they can mulligan. We expect to see a mulligan from Pseudo. Do not expect to see one from Cow. Pseudo does mulligan. Finds a hand with...
Oh, it's better. Yeah, Cow is keeping.
Yeah. I don't...
He might have to go down to 5.
Yeah, I don't know.
He might have no choice.
Because he doesn't have a discard outlet, so even Goryo's Vengeance doesn't...
And he does not have a Breach or a Reanimation.
Right, even with the Reanimation, he needs to also find a way to get something in the graveyard. Or for Breach, he needs to...
This...
Yeah, this is... I don't know.
This could go very wrong. He's considering it because he's got some things. Like, he's got the creature that he wants. I don't think he can keep...
3 mana, so...
Cow...
If he finds through the Breach, he does only need to find 2 lands, but he knows how much counter... He's going all in on the first gas spell he finds, and if that gets countered, he has nothing.
Yeah. Of course, Cow doesn't know that. Cow does not know that there's 3 dead cards.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, he did. He went down to 5. This is
not keepable.
You can shoal a Borborygmos. You can cast a Manamorphose. It's ugly.
I don't know if you can go to 4 either, though. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's keeping. The card on top of his deck he's looking at is a land.
Okay, I mean...
So at least there is that.
I was going to say, having to Spirit Guide just to cycle Manamorphose is not where you want to be.
Yeah, and he's keeping. Yeah. He's not going to crack this because he wants to draw. Here's a win condition on Cow's side of the
Yeah,
game.
I think Cow is massively far ahead at this point.
Yeah. All right, so here's that Bloodstained Mind.
Passes the turn back.
Yeah, there's no reason to use a Manamorphose.
Of course.
This is probably going to fetch a duel.
You would think. Has to assume that at this point there are no Blood Moons in either deck.
Yeah, and there's nothing too scary if Pseudo decides to suddenly cast a 2-mana spell in response to this.
Right.
Gearhulk. So this is a little bit interesting. Lands quick because the high end is showing up.
Right, but has plenty of disruption.
Hello, Night's Whisper. That's a good.
That's exactly what he needs to find.
Now it is probably going to meet his spell stack.
I think you have to. You know your opponent mulligan to 5.
Yeah, I mean you can't not do that. You can't not cast the Night's Whisper, and it's really tough to not counter it.
And I think...
Because Spell Snare is only so good.
Fear of counter magic is also probably why we're not going to see, Manamorphose get cycled first.
Yeah, I mean, technically the spell snare is there for Goryo's Vengeance, but you might not even get a chance at a Goryo's Vengeance because of the spliced nonsense. So yeah, spell snare happens.
Yeah. And Cow fetching another land. Another Steam Vents. Untaps, draws an island. This is exactly what he wants to draw.
Oh, this is really good. He's going to be able to just... He is going to be able to just drop Chandra on turn 4.
Correct.
And cycle an Electrolyze here, if he wants.
And now again, Pseudo...
Here's a Goryo's Vengeance, but it doesn't do anything.
Right, needs to find the
discard. Here's the Electrolyze. Electrolyze face. I still don't think that should have been in the deck, but...
Yeah, it's tough.
There's only so many things you can do.
Finds a Serum Visions.
I think you're better off just dropping Chandra.
I agree.
And saying you have nothing. Because so far, Pseudo has shown nothing.
Correct.
And even beyond that, he's shown that he doesn't have lands.
Right. Mulled to 5. Which means even if he hits a land, you know, he doesn't have access to that much mana, because the more Spirit Guides he has in his hand, the less gas he has, right? So.
Yeah. And here it comes. Here's Chandra. Chandra is probably going to tick up, because what else do you do with this?
Right.
And most likely just chuck something at Pseudo's face. Yep. Card being found is Lightning Bolt decides to get less value.
Passes back to Pseudo, and now Pseudo has to realize he's on a very short clock.
Yeah.
And that's not what he wanted to draw.
That's a blank. Nourishing Shoal, second one.
A little surprised he didn't Manamorphose end of turn to cycle.
Yeah, he could have done that. It would have gotten a card deeper. At this point, you probably have to do things like that. Pass it back, and this is exactly where Cow wants to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He has 5 lands in play, never needs to tap down again. Can probably afford to Serum Visions, but...
Yeah, I think you Chandra first.
Yep.
And then you Serum Visions.
And that still leaves up Mana Leak and Negate. This is
I think this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just over. The land is going to get chucked because it has to get chucked. Pseudo's now down to 12. He's going to pass. He's actually waiting for the
Pseudo finds
ultimate to happen.
Finds a tap land.
Hey, Scry's a good thing.
Scry's a good thing, but very little time left. Keeps it on top. Okay.
It's a brutality.
Okay.
So not the worst.
Not at all.
It does not deal with the Chandra, and it is not going to resolve.
But it's still
so now it's really not going to resolve. Draw for turn is a spell.
So
now you just tick up. You don't even bother doing it.
No, now he can keep up 3 counter spells.
Exactly. You do not.
You don't care about Batterskull.
Batterskull's getting chucked. Batterskull's getting chucked. You don't Serum Visions. Chandra is just going to ultimate next turn.
And win the game.
And
cast 2 spells.
And win the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if the spells, so. Now, Collective Brutality does allow him to get cards in his graveyard, even if it doesn't resolve. I believe. Right?
Yes, and he should do this.
Because
he should be trying to
on casting, things. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. But doesn't have the land to Goryo's Vengeance this turn.
Also, he can only pitch 1 card, because there's no creature get -2/-2.
Correct.
So that mode just isn't possible. He's going to decide to Manamorphose first. There's no reason not to let this resolve. Cow's going to spell snare
because now it doesn't let him dig for a land, right? Like, yeah, now that's probably just the game.
Well, Chandra was the game already.
Oh, correct,
Explosives is not a card, but it is a free card. for Chandra.
Yeah, no, now you can...
And Chandra is just going to do 10 right now.
You do Chandra, you do Serum Visions, you...
And you do Explosives for 0.
You can Mana Leak your own Serum Visions, you can negate... Yeah, you...
So it's going to be Explosives for 0 and Serum Visions. And that's going to be the remaining 10.
And that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even if Pseudo could go off now, has many other, you know, can counter whatever. Yeah, this is...
Yeah, I think even if Pseudo had a functional 7-card hand, this would have been tough.
Right, this was a very, very quick win. Pseudo obviously frustrated. As, you know, I would be too. Did not really get to play very much Magic, unfortunately.
Well, he did. He just
had the chance
decided
game 1. Game 2,
not
I mean.
to go for it in Game 1.
In Game 1, he had that chance. Again, you know...
It's not clear.
Cal and I were talking
in Game 1
about this last match. There are many, many, many different lines of play in these Goryo's Vengeance decks.
Right. And it's not clear even if he had decided to.
Right.
Because, you know, it's a random 7 cards.
Right. Had to hit either
you know, if he does not have 3 lands. He needed the worm or he needed 3 lands.
All right. Any final thoughts on the match before we wrap this one up?
No. Looks like that Blood Moon deck just had just barely enough.
Yeah.
To get through this.
Alright, so that'll do it for this match. Not sure if there'll be another match or not. If there is, I would expect it in another 15-20 minutes or so. But we're going to sign off for now. Like I said, if we get another match together, probably about 15-20 minutes from now. Either way, signing off for now. SenseFan for y'all. For the 2 players, thank you very much to anyone who was watching. And if we don't come back, enjoy the rest of your weekend.